So good morning, I guess, from here, from Dhaka in Bangladesh. Thanks for joining my talk today. And I'll be discussing about the he and she copula in South Central Tibeto Burman languages. So there has been significant discussion about the he and she copula in South Central languages. For example, Hill 2014 proposes reconstructing an initial here, suggesting the change of he to C in the central branch, which includes languages like Akalai. So he compares this to a similar change from Old Burmese he to modern Burmese C. In his reply, Peterson 2017 finds Hill's proposal intriguing but dismisses it, noting that the change of Kya to Sa in the central languages would be the only instance of such a change. So Zakaria 2021 further supports the reconstruction of Kya and its reflexes in the South Central Tibeto Burman branch. He proposes that Xia was retained in southeastern but changed to Ya in southwestern and Za in central. Both southwestern and northeastern share the first set of change Xia to Ya. So today I'll not propose a direction for the sound change in this talk. Rather, I will compare the distributions and functions of the He and She copula in South Central languages and explore any potential links between them. So for those who are unfamiliar with the South Central branch, here is a recent subgrouping proposed by Peterson 2017. So we have the Northwestern, Central, and Peripheral subgroups in this branch. For this talk today, I will present data from the core Central, Northeastern, and Southeastern languages. And here is a map showing the geographic locations of the different subgroups of the South Central branch. In addition to the Southeastern languages, as we see on the map, located in the Rakhine and Chin states of Burma, there is at least one Southeastern language spoken in the Chittagong Hill Tracts of Bangladesh. Okay, so let's start with the data from Tedim, Northeastern language. So Henderson 1965, while comparing narrative and colloquial text, notes that Tedim uses the sentence final marker he in formal or narrative text. A detailed discussion of the he copula is found in Stern's study of Sejong, another um, northeastern language. So Stern notes that narrative sentences in Sejong can end with either he or nga, as you can see in the examples in A1 and A2. Although Stern doesn't notice it, it seems that there is a kind of phonological process for forming the sentence final particles. He also knows the equational copula use of he as shown in B1 on this slide. Since he can be used both as a copula and a sentence final particle, Stern points out that it complicates the distinction between equational and narrative statements in Cezanne. So a more recent study by Davis 2017 reports that he functions as a realist marker in Cezanne, having grammaticalized from the stative verb be. Now we'll move to the central branch. Reichel identifies the equational function of the C copula in BOM, as seen in example A1. She makes a crucial observation that verbs can function as two types of adjectives, adjectival attributes and adjectival equations. The later one resembles passive constructions as demonstrated in B1. Reichel also notes that constructions which are not adjectival equations but contain C use C as an assertive phrase. In example C1, C does not agree with the third person plural participant but with a singular participant. So this assertive function of C is the precursor to its function as a focus marker, which we find in another central language. So Acta 2022 describes C as a focus marker in Pankwa, a central language. It can focus on both predicates and noun phrases as demonstrated in examples in A1 and B1. Note that there is no copula function of C in Pankwa. So Delancey 2011 hypothesizes that the synchronic finite constructions in Tibeto Burman originated from a nominalized clause that functioned as a nominal argument of the highest verb copula. He notes the similarity between prefixal argument markers highlighted in green in example 2 uh, on verb and possessor markers highlighted in green in example 1, suggesting that the nominalized verb is treated as the possessee of the subject. Delancey cites an example from Cezanne, shown by Stern, where two he's are used, one as a copula and the other as a clause final marker, as you can see in 3. This observation might be crucial for our argument in the final slides, indicating that the clause final element may originate from the copula he by a phonological process. So next we'll examine data from Southeastern languages. In these languages, the copula she and he are predominantly used in negative constructions. So example A1 shows she used in a negative clause in the Pongleko variety of Laitu. So the copula C can also be used in an affirmative clause, but it must be a dependent one, as in example B1, signaled by the sequential clause marker na. So this constraint indicates that C does not take prefixal argument markers in Southeastern languages. In this example, we also have a suspicious looking element here, highlighted in red at the end of the first line. So a clause expressing epistemic modality can also contain the C copula in the Ponglenko variety, as can be seen in the example in C1. Uh, okay, so as seen in the central language Pankwa, the C copula has been further grammaticalized into different functions in the Ponglenko variety. Example D1 shows C functioning as an emphatic. The speaker emphasizes the pain she tolerated while she had her face tattoo. And example D2 presents C as part of the counter propositional element, but more emphatically. Example D3 on this slide demonstrates a discourse function of the element Bosinaka, emphasizing the following proposition. Anyway, we still have to look for our traditions through our life. These examples on this slide are important for our later discussions as well. So they show the copula form she with a final element wa. Note that these are used to confirm or emphasize the preposition, thus attracting the addressee's attention. Also note that wa is an allomorph of or, which we'll discuss later. So we'll now look at examples of he in another variety of Laitu, teko. Also note that this he copula can also be used by Pongleku speakers. Unsurprisingly, he has similar distributions like C. An example on this slide, B1, in B1 he functions as an emphatic. Also take note of the final vowel after he in this example. On this slide, in example C1, he is used in a clause expressing epistemic modality. The final Southeastern language we will discuss is Hio. In Hio, the copula he is exclusively used in negative clauses, as in example A1. As demonstrated here, the negative copula consists of the he copula and the negative suffix ya. So a challenging element in Hio is the predicate marker. So most verb complexes end with a suffix formed through a phonological process. If the root or preceding suffix ends with a vowel or a glottal stop, the suffix takes the form ha, as demonstrated by the example in 1, as you can see. So T has a final vowel, so the form of the predicate marker is ha. So if the preceding syllable ends in other stops, the initial of the predicate marker is aspirated. For example, if the verb is checked, the clause final marker has the form to. Similarly, if it ends in a nasal or an approximant, the initial of the marker is devoiced. So the predicate marking suffix also functions as a non-habitual aspect marker, though some people might not agree with this, but I didn't have any better terminology to describe this particular element. As you can see in B2, the final marks the non-habitual aspect of the verb go compared to the verb come in example B3. So how to explain that this predicate marker is the same as the copula he, or at least contains the he copula? So recall the sentence final particle he in Sejong and its formation as suggested by Delancey. So Delancey provides examples from classical Tibetan as well, showing clause final markers formed by gemination. So in some languages spoken in Manipur, similar processes form clause final particles. For example, in Chote, Northwestern language, the sentence final particles are formed by gemination. Also recall that we encountered the clause final particles ya, wa, and or in Lai2 varieties on slides 15, 19, and 21. So considering these observations, we can propose some solutions. Number one, since the open vowel syllable would generally have a vocalic clause final marker due to gemination, and Hugh does not allow adjacent vowels of the same quality, he ended up with the final back vowel. So in the later stage, he and or became ha. It's also possible that or o might have been the default clause final marker. In Sejong, Stern notes that the sentences in colloquial text have a different final element, which is a. So he for narrative text or narrative sentences and text sentences in narrative text, and a for sentences in colloquial text. So hence I propose that the southeastern languages have just amalgamated the two, the he copula, which is used in the narrative style, and the vowel or used in colloquial text. So this is supported by the fact that in many examples, Lai2 still has a or final, as we have already seen on slide 15, slide 19, slide 21, and in the example on this slide. So final remarks. The constraint of he and she in Southeastern languages suggests that without a nominalized stem variant, they could only be used in negative clauses. This constraint likely emerged when clauses with the nominalized stem variant began to be used as finite or final clauses. The assertive use of the C, as we have seen in BOM, where it does not agree with S or A argument, supports its emphatic or discourse function in South Central languages. Additional examples of the he and she copulas, that is the H copula and S copula, in Southeastern languages as discourse elements indicate that they have evolved similarly across the branches of South Central where they are found. After their grammaticalization as a discourse element, they have further evolved as realis and non-habitual markers in Northeastern and Southeastern languages. So here is a summary table of the different functions of the H copula and S copula in South Central Tibeto Burman languages. That's it. Thank you very much for listening to my talk.